Good evening, everybody. This is Betsy Wurzel, host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio. Jeanne White is the producer and writes the blog. Thank you so much, Jeanne. This chat tonight is on my Advocacy Series on being an advocate and how does someone become an advocate? Now, why does somebody become an advocate? And my guest tonight is dear to my heart. Marua Burr was my mentor, first one in Dementiaville, and I just love her to pieces. Marua has inspired me and encouraged me, and I loved her boldness and her passion the minute I met her in the Facebook group. And I want to welcome one of the best advocates I know, Marua Burr. Welcome, Marua.
Hey, Betsy. How you doing?
Hey, Marua. Pretty good. Thanks. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I worked today. I had 2 different little jobs. I spent my morning with a gentleman that I kind of do caregiving with, and I always love going there. The guy's really cool. He's an older guy, about in his 70s. He has Parkinson's, and he can't drive anymore. He plays the fiddle really well, a certain niche of it, and he has the driest sense of humor. I just loved going to visit him. And then I spent the afternoon at the farm, and that was lovely. So it was a nice day for me here in Florida.
That was a nice day up here in New Jersey. And Marua, I want you to tell the listeners, I know you're an advocate even before your wife, Donna, had Alzheimer's. What made you become an advocate, and why?
You asked me that in a message that you sent me.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking about it and thinking back. And honestly, Betsy, I think some of us are just kind of thrown to that in a way because maybe we have certain personalities. I know a lot of the advocates I know they root for the underdog. They speak up for those that are too shy or whatever to speak up for themselves. A lot of advocates are that way, but others aren't. They get thrown into it and realize, like, you know what? I really don't want to do this, but I need to do this. And so there's all kinds of advocates, really.
That's true.
But as I think back, I'm trying to remember, like, the first thing that I was really all about being an advocate about. And I looked up the word advocate and what does it mean. And an advocate is just somebody who pleads another's cause or who speaks a right in support of something. Like the best example of an advocate, of course, would be a lawyer. And the funny thing is, I was going to go to law school. I was on my way, AS degree in legal assistance, and I worked for an attorney in Miami, and I worked towards that when I was in high school. So I've always, I guess, kind of had a voice, but one of the first things I recall, even before I wanted to be an attorney, I was in junior high school. And we had this weird system when I went to school. It was called the Quinmester system. And you had to go to school 4 out of 5 quins. And you could pick which quin actually you wanted to take off. You didn't have to take summer off. You could go to all 5 quins. And it was more like college in a way. You picked your own classes, but you had requirements and then you had electives. So it was kind of cool. But we were in Miami, and I'm a baby boomer, and there weren't enough schools built yet. And so they did this weird thing where they did split shifts, double shifts of school. So you either had the morning shift or the evening shift, like afternoon shift. So you either went to school from like 6 a.m. to noon, 6:30 to noon, or 12:30 to 5 or whatever. I forget the exact hours, but it was really weird. And because our days were so fast and short and cram-packed, we we were told as students that we had 3 minutes to get from class to class. And if you weren't on time, then you could be written up and all of that crap they do in school. And I was like, no way, man. Are you kidding? You want us to lug around every book for every class all day? We don't even have time to go to the locker or go to the bathroom if we had to or anything. It's like, no, man, at least 4 minutes. That's what we used to have. It worked. But 3 was like cutting it close. And so I wrote up this whole petition, and I went around kind of in stealth mode. I didn't make a big stink about it. But I gathered signatures. And I got like 1,000 signatures. And I presented it to the principal. And so they labeled me a troublemaker and blah, blah, blah. I'd been in trouble before just because I was 13, and a lot of stuff happened to me when I was 13. And so that's the first thing I recall about being an advocate, is that, no, this isn't right. There was a sense of injustice. And I was indignant and kind of pissed off about it. And I have a mouth that can run sometimes. But I also sort of have a brain that figures out sometimes it's better to just shut up and do something and not really talk about it. And that's part of being an advocate, too, believe it or not. So that's how I started. I think that was my first real thing into it. And then, of course, I wanted to be an attorney, and I worked towards that. And then when I actually worked for an attorney and in the system, I realized that, you know what? If I do this, I'll either go crazy or I'll be dead. And so I'm like, I ain't doing this either. So I kind of dropped out of school for, oh, my God, 20-something years, man. I went to the University of Life. And those were party years. I drank a lot. I managed a big, huge bar in Miami. And I didn't really care a whole lot about being an advocate at that time. It was more about me. And that's all part of growing up, too, I guess, you know? Anyway, a lot of interesting stuff happened to me during those years. And cut to, more of the present. In the 1990s, I decided that I was going to move out of the Keys. So I lived in the Keys, and I was a multi-store manager and trainer for Circle K in the Keys, which was real interesting because it's very hard to keep any kind of good help in the Keys. Everybody has Keys disease, and like Friday they get a paycheck and they're not coming to work, and Monday they're hungover. And so you do a lot of babysitting, and I got sick of all that. And through another personal experience of mine, I decided I wanted to go back to school to become an X-ray tech, actually. And that's what I did. I moved out of the Keys, and I moved up here and prepared, I went back to school, and I worked in a doctor's office, and I still worked for Circle K, kind of part-time, and I stepped down to an assistant manager. And then when I was in X-ray school, I met Gaydonna. And we clicked along just fine, 2 lesbians, 2 fire signs, 2 people that had a way of saying things or writing things and observing the world. And since we were both lesbians, of course, advocacy again. It was just a natural thing with the 2 of us. Like we had to, Gaydonna and I were always kind of doing things. And so actually we took Gainesville and the LGBTQ community there from just people getting together and having a picnic every year and, in a parade kind of, well, the parade came later, but we'd have a little march. And we took it from that status with fundraising that I did actually, which is another part of advocacy. And so the LGBT community in Gainesville Pride, suddenly had enough money to become a nonprofit organization, a 501c3. And out of that grew a North Central Florida Pride Community Center. And so that was all advocacy work. But at the same time that was going on, Gaydonna and I had opened we wanted a business. We wanted our own business, Click Photo, because we're both photographers. And so we did that. And that's when things started falling apart. I was getting fried as it was. I was working about 80 hours a week, doing x-rays, working at a bookstore, and working 7 days a week at Click Photo. And that's actually now, in retrospect, is when I started noticing that Gaydonna was having trouble with things. Like, it would take her forever to do something with Photoshop or figure out something on the computer. And this is a woman that ran like $1 million x-ray equipment, So I wonder, I look back on that in retrospect. At the time, it didn't click, like, oh, what is this? Is this dementia? That was not even on my radar at all. But looking back, I see it now. So then we had to close Click Photo. Gaydonna got in a car accident, and I really screwed her up bad. Her sister was driving, and she got T-boned. And that was it for me. I'm like, we have to close. I can't do this anymore. I'm going to have a nervous breakdown. And that broke Gaydonna's heart. It really did. But it was, I had to. I couldn't do it anymore. It's done. And so then things kind of got bad for us. Her father died. Her mom got real sick and started having dementia, and I started drinking again. And we took a kind of negative turn in our lives. And then one day, I think it was real close to when I quit drinking again. Gaydonna went for a walk with actually her ex, Paula. They used to walk around our huge country block here. On the other side of it, they'd take the dogs for a walk. On the other side of it, there's a bunch of cows and horses. It's really, really pretty. And so they're out there, and Paula's counting cows and stuff, and Gaydonna couldn't count. And so that was like the big thing. It was like, what? You can't count? And so then she went off to a doctor, but I was so screwed up in my own world of misery that I didn't even go to the doctor with her. And then after her diagnosis, I was in denial for a good year, but I was also working on figuring out who I was again and climbing out of a bottle of alcohol. So all this was happening at the same time. So for like that first year after her diagnosis, I was in denial. And then because I was getting my own life together and learning how to be comfortable in my own skin again, I jumped from denial into acceptance, and there we floated, like for a couple of years, just accepting that, okay, we're sitting here and Gaydonna's going to die. Okay, we're just waiting to die. It was really depressing. Gaydonna was going downhill faster. I was noticing it more because I was becoming less of a self-centered kind of person, always looking at me. And it started building up, and I came home one day from a meeting pissed off. I was pissed. And that's the day that everything changed that day. I don't even know what the date was, but I said, I'm pissed at Alzheimer's, and I'm going to do something about it. And Gaetana felt that energy. She knew there was a shift, a definite energy shift. And then from that day forward, it was just taking things as they come. There's a whole lot of serendipity that I think that happens in life when we take our passion or our anger or whatever emotion that can fuel us as humans to take action. A lot of magic stuff happens with that. It's very powerful.
Yes.
And that's when I really, really started stepping into Dementiaville, what it's like, learning that there's no point in arguing. You step into where they are, and there was a time there that was actually probably one of the most miserable parts of the Alzheimer's journey was what I called the terrible twos, Betsy. And that's when Gaetana she knew she was losing her mind, and she was pissed off, and she couldn't do things. And, and then you know how it is when you love people in relationships, you take your stuff out on the ones you're closest to. Why? Because you feel comfortable enough to be able to do that. That's why. But then, I had to learn, all right, I can't take this personally. It'll kill me, and I'm too stubborn for that. But it was hard. I mean, I'd come home sometimes from a meeting, and Gaetana, she'd forget that I was going, but she didn't want to go with me, and I'd come home, and she'd be walking down the street, and I'd see her on the side of the road with this hatred in her eyes. She'd spot me, and she'd look, and I'd have to get out of the car and, get her, and it could have been a scene, it looked like I'm trying to kidnap this woman, and she's, cussing at me. And I would just have to get out of the car real quiet, and I learn in these experiences, and when all this intense energy is happening, and there's no real words, you figure it out. You don't need words. And you know what? Vince said something. Vince Angaro has a little thing that he made, a quote with a photo. It's so right on. I just love it, and I don't know it by heart, but paraphrase basically, it's sometimes, we just need to go and give them a hug and hold that hug. Hold it long enough for them to get it, to feel that energy. Don't just go give a 1 second quick, hug, Give them a hug. Hold the hug. Let it last, 30, 60 seconds. And then they fall into it. And this is exactly what happened on this one occasion when I'm coming home and Gaetana's on the side of the road all hateful, cussing at me. And I had to get out of the car real calm, and I just had to go hold her. And hold her. And at first she kind of fought a little, but I just held her, and I talked real quiet, And then finally you could feel her release that anger. And the truth is she wasn't really mad at me. She was mad because she couldn't do anything, and she couldn't remember how to do anything. And, and then she'd run away with weird ideas and thought I was having an affair and, that kind of crazy stuff. And you learn. You learn by going through it that
it's true.
Just maybe bite your tongue and let the moment pass and try to imagine how you would feel in that situation. Because you know what? It ain't about me, baby. And that brings me full circle right back to advocacy. And really there's 3 kinds of advocates, Betsy. There's the self-advocate, where you advocate for yourself. And we have to do that these days when we go to the doctor, don't we?
Right.
So we're self-advocates. But then there's an individual advocate, and that's a person, a care partner who goes to the doctor with their loved one, and they advocate on their loved one's behalf. That's an individual advocate. Then you have advocates that advocate causes, or more than one, or groups or organizations. So there's different levels of advocacy. And people go, well, God, I can't go do that. But you know what? If you go back and you recall what I said an advocate was in the first place, it's just somebody who pleads a case. And aren't all of us doing that in one fashion, one way or another in our lives every day somehow?
That's true. Very true, Marcia. And so you're involved in a lot of advocacy groups, Marcia. Can you tell people what they are?
Oh, my goodness. All right, there's a side of my life, my recovery story. I don't talk a whole lot about that because I don't need to anymore, really. Not who I am anymore. And so I don't have a lot to say with my personal stories that way, unless sometimes I'm talking one-on-one with somebody else who maybe, they need some help in recovery stuff. So I do kind of treat that part of my life anonymously, but I'm not in a closet about it. It's just I don't need to go into morbid detail.
Right.
Then,
I mean, you're like
so
the way
probably, like when I first got on Facebook, that's where I first started learning about support groups. And so I was in a bunch of recovery support groups. And to this day, I still am, but I just slid on through. I don't really have a lot to say a lot of times. But I do this thing every day that I've done for, oh, my God, probably 8 years now, is the gratitude. I have a gratitude word of the day that I do. Used to do it every morning. That started feeling really like, just rote. So I changed it up, and I started doing it in the evening recently and writing a little paragraph or thought about it. So my gratitude thing has evolved as I do. But then, what's funny to me, Betsy?
What's
all that time that I spent, all these recovery groups I was in, on Facebook, all these recovery groups, right? And then Gaydana starts getting worse, progressing with Alzheimer's. Did it once occur to me to join a dementia support group, a care partner group, caregiving? No. It was like, dull. So the day that I got mad and I came home and I said, I'm going to do something about it, lots of things changed. My Facebook wall went public, and I started looking for support groups, and that's how I ended up in one really, really big group. And from there, well, you know the story, then we got thrown into this other smaller little boat. And from there, here's the cool thing about dementia support groups. There's 100 different flavors. There's ones for the particular dementia that you're dealing with. Like maybe it's not Alzheimer's, it's vascular dementia, or Lewy body, or frontotemporal lobe, or Parkinsonian. There's a myriad of different kinds of dementia. So guess what? There's a support group for whatever flavor you like. And then among all those choices, it breaks down even further. Then there's all these different personalities within the group. And what I'm driving at for people that are just coming into the caregiving journey, go check out all the big groups. Get in there, ask some questions, look around. Don't be surprised if you find some judgmental stuff going on, because it's, those huge groups, they're hard to manage. Honestly, they get so big. But from there, you're going to start meeting people and reading stories. And then you're going to start seeing people. You'll notice patterns of people that boy, they seem to know what they're talking about, and they've been through stuff that's like really exactly what I'm dealing with right now, and I kind of like how they say those things. So you know what? Go send them a friend request. But ask questions. And after you jump in, and this is how it happened for me, I jumped into this big group, and as time has gone on, I've gone into smaller and smaller and smaller groups, yet I'm still in all these big groups. And I keep my fingers and my ears and my eyes open through these groups. And most of them, honestly, Betsy, I don't comment a whole lot in. I do a lot of reading. I don't do a lot of commenting because I think what happens, too, is like there's new people coming on board this care ship all the time, this life raft, new mates coming aboard. And so there's something I think happens where, like, those first people you meet initially, you sort of form these pacts and bonds with a little bit. And let those people do the talking. Let them tell their stories. I don't always have to tell all the stories. They get old after a while. People heard a lot of my stories, you know? And so that's part of being an advocate, too. You know, I'm trying to think of what it takes to be an advocate. Number one, it takes passion about something. Passion. Then it takes empathy. It takes the ability to listen. A good quality and skill to have is the ability to meet other people and network. And that means a good advocate has good communication skills. And then it breaks down. I mean, you have to ask yourself, if you're a person going, God, I really want to do something. What could I do? I wish I could do what that does. I wish that I could blah, blah, blah. Well, just sit down and have a conversation with yourself. Ask yourself, what do you like to do? What pulls at your heartstrings? Do you have a hobby you're really good at? Are there ways you can take something you really like to do and turn it into something that might help another care partner? For example, I have a friend that after her father died, you know her, Robin. Mm-hmm. She got into painting. And, you know, the paint the rock phase for a while, you know, a couple years back, it was real big. Everybody was painting and hiding rocks, and it was really cool. And I still find rocks, believe it or not. So Robin started painting rocks, and I swear they're amazing, aren't they?
They are. I still have mine.
Yeah, me too. You know, then she started painting canvas and stuff, but she found something that really drew her passion. Well, if you can take something you're good at, say you're good at math. Well, maybe you can go help some care partners that have trouble keeping their, you know, making a budget for their home or something that revolves around using numbers and helping them that way. Well, that's a skill. That's something you could do. You know, like my friend Robin, she paints things and sends them off to care partners, it's so touching. You know, I got this beautiful pencil sketching she did of Gaydana after Gaydana died, and it hangs on the wall right next to me. I love it. Then, like VJ is real good at sewing and doing things like that, and so she's been making masks. So if you're not sure what you want to do, well, just go hook up with some of these people, go find a support group near you, and listen in, find, you know, you go look. Like if you move to a new town, I guess maybe that's a good thing. I was an Air Force brat. I had to move a lot. Well, you just go out and you start looking around and asking questions and, you know, finding out what you like. That's all. Nothing hard about it, and it's fun. I have met the most amazing people, Betsy.
Yes, for sure. That's great advice, Marcia. You're in the advocacy group in your area for, I forgot the name of it, elder care?
Oh, yeah, I'm on the board of directors for Elder Options.
That's it. Couldn't think of the name.
Yeah.
Exact name.
that's the position I hold. I don't get paid for it. It's just something I do because they noticed that I started a support group here in Williston and that I've been doing some advocacy, and so I kind of have my finger on the pulse of things around here. I've been in touch with the police chief and the fire chief, and the Life Raft made a calendar of firemen for this year, which was cool. And it's a very nice calendar. It's not, one of those Chippendale calendars. And the guys, they were so shy. It took me a while to talk them up and get them loosened up. And we have 2 twin firefighters that live in Williston. Anyway, so you get in touch with who's around you, and just I just went out and I found, okay, I asked the churches, you have a space I can use? And, it's funny, all the churches said, oh, yeah. And then they never call me back. So I went to the city. I'm like, hey, man, what day can I use the community room? And so that's what I did. I set it up at City Hall. They have this, and then they tore down City Hall, so the Life Raft had to dry dock for a few months while they rebuilt it. And then when they opened again, man, this nice, huge community room. It's big. It's got it holds about 50. Well, that would be crowded. Maybe 30 round tables where maybe 8 people could sit at it. Table. So the room holds a lot of people, and there's a kitchen. And that's where we meet, but we haven't been because now, this year, for 2020, we're dry docked because we have a virus. And I'm debating whether to restart meetings at the end of June. I just have to wait and see. We're all still kind of a wait-and-see mode. But my function for Elder Options is basically being the ears for my community and the voice. And so I have a say in how actually a very big budget, millions of dollars, is spent because Elder Options, here's the deal. This is where it gets confusing for a lot of caregivers coming into this new. They're like, God, where do I ask for help? And, your people throughout, talk to your ombudsman if your loved one's in a nursing home and you're not getting help. Okay, who's that? What's that? Well, Elder Options is the name for my region in the state of Florida. It's the state agency of aging, which is a national agency on aging. And then we have a state agency, but the state of Florida is broken down into, 16 different regions. And the region that I live in with Williston and Gainesville, it's huge. It's a very big region. It goes all the way down into Mount Dora, where my sister lives, way south of me. The name for our region, for the state, what is the actual name? It gets so confusing. Florida Department of Elder Affairs. That's the official name for the Florida State Governmental Agency, Florida Department of Elder Affairs, which is broken into 16 regions. My region, its name is Elder Options, and it covers 15 counties. I forget exactly the numbers. I might be mixing the numbers up, but it's big area. So we have a budget, a very large budget to help the elderly in my region. And so I go to board meetings a few times a year and make the best decision how to spend this money to keep the agency growing and in good shape and helping the most people possible, getting the biggest bang for our buck, not just quantity-wise, but quality-wise. And so Elder Options is actually amazing. They handle, and this is big right now, what's going on with the virus, Meals on Wheels. One of the things they oversee. They help people get qualified for Medicaid and tell them what they need to do to get qualified for Medicaid. They offer all kinds of free exercise classes, Tai Chi. They have programs for people who have diabetes, exercise programs and other things. They have a program specifically for people, for elders suffering with depression and anxiety. All of these amazing programs. They have a 24/7 hotline call center. And so with this virus, you can imagine the impact.
Yeah, that's
huge.
Yeah.
Well, we happen to have this amazing woman who's the executive director named Kathy Griffith, I think. I'm bad with names sometimes. I should know this stuff, right? But, I mean, I've only been to one quarterly board of directors meeting. And the next one's coming up here the beginning of June. So I'm still rather new at this.
Yeah,
thing.
That's okay.
But it comes to me easily enough because I've done other stuff like this in other areas of my life. For example, in recovery, a lot of that was about service. So I do things like, I wrote a district newsletter for 7 years. I was they had different positions. I was a GSR. I was on committees for public affairs, for different things. So, and I am familiar with like voting and how you run these rules. You sort of have to know or have a basic understanding of Robert's Rules of Orders and how business meetings are run, things like that. So some of the meetings, well, the one I was at last time, it was fascinating. So many things. It's amazing. But other meetings I've been to, business meetings like that, really they're kind of boring, and you have to listen to all this stuff and then decide what you're going to do. And then, if people disagree, then you have to listen to the minority opinion and re-vote. There's a whole procedure about it. It takes time. But I'm really fired up about having this opportunity to be on the board of directors and to represent Levy County, because Levy County is this big rural county that's poor, with lots of old people who live in the woods and are too proud to go ask for help, and they have poor internet, or maybe they don't even know how to use it in the first place. And so it's really tricky getting help to people around here. But I'm on a mission, and I'm an advocate, and so that's what I do. And I think one of the most important things I do as an advocate, besides talking to a lot of people behind the scenes, I do a lot of that, that,
right,
is knowing how to network.
Yes.
How can you, we become weavers. We weave a tapestry of things that work around us, and we hook them together so that they become stronger and work better. And then you get phone lists of people around you that can help you locally. That's why I started the Life Wrap, because you know why? Because there was days I couldn't even go to the grocery store 5 minutes away from my house just to get a jug of milk. And that's what care partners live with every single day. Not all of them, granted, but people have no idea what it means to be a dementia care partner until they go through it. And trust me, world, trust me, America, you're likely to have it ripple into your life. 1 in 3 Americans will die of some form of dementia. Do you know what that means, Betsy? It means look left. If you don't see it there, look right. If you don't see it there, look in the mirror. That's pretty, whoa.
Yeah.
Makes you stop and think about it, doesn't it?
It sure does. No one is immune from dementia, any type. Well, thank you, Marcia.
Yeah, boy, that time went fast, didn't it?
I know. It goes by so fast. I wanted to also tell the listeners you also are connected with the Alzheimer's Music Fest.
Oh, yes, I am. And that's near and dear to my heart. I love Vince Zangaro, Whitney, Gary, Joseph LeBlanc is this workhorse that is so dynamite at education and getting things done and getting help to people. And Whitney has done so many amazing things with Dementia Friends in Georgia, and she has a heart of gold. And Vince knows so many people and cool musicians and knows how to make stuff happen. And with all of this energy and the connections that we've made, it becomes this synergy. And so things are cooking, but the world got put on hold right now because of this virus. So we've been doing what Vince has been doing, and Whitney and Gary. Gary's been doing a lot of webinars. There's one coming up soon. Well, I was going to do one with him, but it got canceled because the internet went down, and that happens a lot right now because
yes,
down.
It's happened to me during interviews.
Yeah, no, it's a bummer, isn't it? But also, they've been doing the Alzheimer's Music Fest online. Like the musicians who played, they come on and they do this whole live stream thing for about an hour or two. And it's awesome music. I've heard some great stuff. I tuned into Dynagroove the other night. And right now, people who want to help and they want something cool, because 2020 is a year going down in history books, baby. You can go on to the Alzheimer's Music Fest Facebook page, or you can even go on to my wall. I posted it too. They have, for a limited time, the 2020 Shelter-in-Place Alzheimer's Music Fest T-shirts, and they're rainbow tie-dyed, and they're awesome. They're a limited
ordered
time.
Mine.
I know. I ordered a bunch
of.
Yeah. So I'm just letting people know that there's still ways, even in the middle of this virus, that we can stay connected and make things happen. And the truth is, Betsy, we have a handle above and beyond a lot of the rest of the world. Because why? Because we've been living in isolation a long time, and we know how to swim through it.
Amen to that. That's for sure. Definitely. Yes, we could do social isolation standing on our head because we're used to it. Now the world is getting a glimpse of what we've been going through. Marcia, how do people get a hold of you? Get in contact with you?
Really, honestly, I'll tell you the truth. I'm not big on talking on the phone. My phone is really my camera. The easiest way to get a hold of me is on Facebook. Send me a message. I'll answer.
Okay.
I do. Or, send me a message anytime. I'll get back to you. Also, my wall is public. I'm posting stuff all the time about dementia. I post a lot of stories because I think
videos
tell things in ways that just lectures and things like that can't. And I'm always making new videos about dementia care partners at Dementiaville. And, lately I've made a bunch about the COVID virus thing going around now, too. I just spent all day yesterday making one, and YouTube won't let me play it. I'm in the middle of a copyright dispute with them, so, oh, well. Anyway,
yes,
I have a YouTube channel you can check out if you want just a good playlist of songs. You can look up Marua Burr on YouTube and Marcia's Dementiaville Highway. There's over 100 songs on there that I made videos to over the years. And if anybody has a question or they want to talk to me or ask me anything, send me a Facebook message. You can keep an eye on what's happening with the Life Raft group that I started here in Williston, because I started a page. And the page is called The Voyages of the USS Life Raft. And I post things about, what we do locally. Of course, right now we're kind of in dry dock, like the world is. But I still post things in there. I post sightings from cool stuff all over the world that, people don't get to see all the time. And so that's how you get a hold of me.
Oh, thank you, Marcia. Thank you for being my guest and sharing about your advocacy and your story, your experience. And you are the inspiration behind what I do, because Marcia inspired me. And I want to encourage everyone to look at Marsha's video channel on YouTube. Her videos are beautiful, and they touch your heart. I could laugh and cry at the same time when I look at Marsha's videos, because you see people that, of course, I know a lot of them that are gone. They passed on, and, there's some that are still with us, and it's just beautiful, beautiful work that you do, Marsha. Thank you for doing the videos and coming on today.
Well, thank you, Betsy. It really
welcome.
Puts a smile on my face to hear you say that that Gaydonna's and my story is like the gas in your gas tank. It makes me smile, and it gives me a sense of validation for the advocacy I do, and it makes me look and go, a promise kept. Because I made a promise to Gaydonna before she died that I would help and that I would share our stories, and the world would know, and the world needs to know. So thank you for validating all of that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I made a promise to Matt, so we have a lot in common.
Yeah. And when this virus is done, baby, I have a sneaking suspicion a couple years down the road, you and me going to be making some other stuff happen. I really do.
I am open to anything at this point, Marsha, because you just don't know what's in store. You have to be open to new ideas and new, opportunities. Folks, I think, nobody sometimes, well, I should say, sometimes people don't plan on being an advocate, like myself, and I'll tell my story sometime. But I just love hearing how people become an advocate. And really, if you are a caregiver, you're already being an advocate for your loved one.
Exactly.
Keep up the good work. And pat yourself on the back, caregiver, because you're doing a great job. And I want to tell the audience that if you missed any of this audio cast, you can catch it on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeart, Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe to my show, Chatting with Betsy. You can catch these shows. I'm going to be having more people speak about how they became an advocate. So you want to stay tuned. This is Betsy Wurzel, host of Chatting with Betsy and Pastoral Talk Radio. I want to thank Jeanne White for always writing a beautiful blog, Lillian Caldwell for this radio station, giving people an opportunity to be heard. Folks, in a world where you could be anything, as they say, be kind, wear your mask, social distancing, be safe. Tomorrow's Memorial Day. Remember the people, men and women who died to protect our country. And I just want to thank everyone for listening. And till I chat with you again, be safe. Bye-bye now.